Good afternoon, everyone. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and I know what you're thinking. Okay, we bought a new computer. We loaded up Windows, and the first thing that's on your mind is we're going to turn on the web browser, we're going to set up a web browser that we like, and we're just going to go play with this thing. Stop right there. Don't think that, okay? What you've got in here is a solid-state drive, and I will clarify one more time with you people because I talked about this when I was telling you about how to get this Windows 11 up and running, okay? Now, listen to me carefully. In your solid-state drives, you have capacitors. They are filled with electrons, okay? Now, granted, I had this computer shipped to my house, and for 2 weeks I did nothing with it. 2 weeks. And it turned out just fine. So it's not like that the electrons are going to suddenly drain out of your solid-state drive. Okay, I'll say that again. The electrons are not going to drain out of your solid-state drive right off the bat. It's not going to happen. Okay? So I don't want people saying, well, that's what he said. No, that's not what Ted said. Okay? Get that straight. I didn't say that all of a sudden you're not going to have electrons in your solid-state drive and so therefore everything's going to be wiped out. I never said that. It could be months and even possibly a year before any electrons can be drained out. And these solid-state drives are improving. Okay, so you say, well, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that these solid-state drives are going to get better and better? Of course they are. It's just like the hard drives of the old days with the disks. They're going to get better and better and better. Okay? But in the meantime, okay, and this is the key. In the meantime, you don't want to have this computer sitting months on end when you don't have a power supply to it and it doesn't get any juice, because what happens is that those electrons are constantly refreshed. Okay? If they're not constantly refreshed, they start to leak. When they do, your data is gone. It could be 6 months, it could be a year, it could be longer. It depends on what kind of solid-state drive they've got in this thing. And I'm not really sure what brand or what model number or whatever is in here. We'll find out, but we don't know exactly. Okay? And I probably should have done more research, but I didn't, so therefore. But it could be months, possibly even years, before this thing will leak out any electrons whatsoever. Eventually it'll start leaking, and when it does, this computer will stop functioning. And I will talk about a computer program called Crystal Disk Info, which will help you determine how bad your hard drive is and when it needs to be replaced. The most important thing is to check not only the solid-state drive in your computer, but also your external solid-state drive, and make sure it's in good condition. Because if this is going to be your data drive, which this one's going to be mine, well, after a certain period of time, the electrons start draining out, and you'll start losing files. This will not happen overnight. It could be months. It could be years. It doesn't matter when it happens. Okay? Now, you also have to keep in mind one other thing. Microsoft constantly sends you updates, and every time you write to your solid-state drive, it's going to slowly degrade your solid-state drive. This is not going to happen overnight. It could be years before that happens, but it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. You don't know. No two solid-state drives are exactly the same, and like I said, as the technology improves, it's going to happen a lot less. But eventually, it's going to happen. And if you don't take action quickly, you're going to lose all your data. And you don't want that. And you know what the worst part about it is? It's not just your solid-state drives like this one and this one. Oh, no. See that? I'll pull it out a little bit. That is a flash drive. Your SD cards, which are secure digital cards, not SanDisk. SanDisk is a company. Secure Digital, that's another one. These operate on the same electrons. They operate similar to that. Eventually, that will lose its electrons, and boom, it'll be useless. But how fast that happens is entirely up to you. You don't want to write to this thing regularly. You don't want to treat it like a piece of paper and just keep scribbling and scribbling. After a while, even the piece of paper will be useless. Getting the picture now? Okay. Now, this was manufactured by a company called PNY. You can see that right there on the screen. See that? Okay. PNY is one of the best manufacturers of flash drives, and I bet they also make solid state drives too. If you wanted to get a solid state drive for them, that's fantastic, because it'll probably last longer. So like I said, it all depends on that. Now, as you can plainly see, I've got my computer up like this, and I typed in the words create a recovery drive. That is the very first thing you do when you get a new computer. Here's why. Because if that solid state drive fails, you can stick this in there with a new hard drive and start all over again. That's right. You might lose all your data files if you didn't put them in an external hard drive, but otherwise you'll be okay. Now, I will in a future video teach you how to take an old hard drive and matter of fact, I got one right here. This is one of those magnetic disk drives. You could take one of these with a Sabret device, and you could turn this into an external hard drive, and this is a disk type thing. Do disks degrade? Sure they do. Do they do it as fast as the solid states? I have to disagree with a lot of these people. This will last longer than that. How much longer? Depends on how well these were built, who you bought them from, and there's a few other factors as well. Okay, but this will actually last longer than that solid state. Not as long as it'll vary, but it will last longer. Okay, this one's been corrupted, but I have another one that I bought for my older laptop, and I will, whatever. Anyway, okay. We now have our 64-bit, which is more than sufficient for what we're going to do. You have to have at least 16 gigabits, okay? Or not gigabit, gigabyte. 64. This is 64 gigabyte. You have to have at least 16 gigabytes to do this recovery drive. All right, I'm going to shut this off for a second. I'm going to open this up, and then I'm going to stick it in my computer, and we'll go from there. Stay tuned. Okay, I finally got the PNY drive, as you can see here, out of the package. You can see it right there. Now, note number one. This plastic piece doesn't come off. It slides. And I had a heck of a time getting it to slide open, so I'm not going to slide it back closed. Okay, but this plastic piece slides down like this, and that's how you get it open. Trying to get it open, I may have broken it. I don't know. Anyway, it's open. We can use it. Now, I have a USB hub right here. We're going to plug it in like that. Do not have any other external drives plugged in here when you create this recovery thing, okay? That is very important. Now then, down here is a little search thing. On the very bottom, there's a little search box, okay? You type in create a recovery drive. If you can't see it, that's fine. I'm going to repeat it again. Create a recovery drive. Type it in here, and then with your mouse, click it. It says, do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? Yes. Alright. On this, I'm not really sure what's going on, so give me just a second. At this point, you're going to see this ominous message. Don't worry about this ominous message. You're going to think, oh my gosh, I've made a mistake. You haven't made any mistakes yet. Okay? All this is going to do is try to find something that it can store all this recovery information on. That's all it's going to do. Watch this. We're going to click it. Now it's going to take a couple minutes. There you go. Alright. Alright, I'll be back in a couple... Oh. Yeah, I'll be back in a couple seconds when it's done doing its search and whatever. Stay tuned. Oh, okay, I found it. Okay. Now the last step is to make sure that it is not going into your solid state drive. That is the one thing you do not want to do. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and make sure that it's going to the right spot. I want you to stay tuned. Okay, how do you find out which drive you're going to use? Okay, there's a real easy way to do that. You're going to come down here to your folder. And then you're going to go down to this place called This PC. There we go. Sorry about that. Computer wasn't cooperating. Okay. It's going to list as your C drive Acer and as your D drive this thing. Okay? And as you can see, there's nothing else hooked up to this thing. Nothing. Make sure that no other external drives are hooked up to this thing, because it'll go to that external drive and wipe it out. You don't want that. So, the only one that's hooked up there right now is the one we want. So we're going to get out of this. And then we're going to hit next. Now we're going to create it. This could take some time. Alright? While this is doing this, we're going to go off and do whatever we want. So stay tuned. And this is the last part of this presentation. As you can clearly see, the recovery disk is now completely done. So the real question is, what do you do with it? Well, I'll tell you what you do with it. As you can probably see right over here as I turn the camera, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it down. I know I've got my razor on top of it, but that's only so you can actually see it. I've got my older laptop that has Linux on it. What you do is you take your Windows recovery thing and you stick it in one of the USB ports of your old Linux system. The reason for that is that it'll keep it powered up. See, I have my thing powered up. I really do. I have it all powered up, ready to go. And then after that, you're all set. It'll just keep powering up. And what happens is that the electrons in the capacitors will get constantly refreshed. That means more electrons will come in and they'll take care of any of them that might have tried to leak. And then this data will be refreshed on a regular basis, and you don't have to worry about it. It can sit there for years. As long as it's getting refreshed and it's not just sitting there idle, you're fine. And the thing is, as long as you never write on it, don't write anything on it, just leave it alone, leave it just the way it is, it'll last probably a good 10, 12 years. It should. Now, I can't guarantee that, but I'm going to say it should last about 10 to 12 years. As long as you don't touch it, don't write on it, and keep it powered on, it should last a good long time. And if you ever need to fix your computer, there you go. The nice thing about it is you can do the same thing with Linux, and I'm going to show you in a different video how to make a restore disk for Linux, just like you've done with this Windows. And the thing is, with Linux, unlike Windows, Linux is free. And you keep your Linux one as well. And what you could also do, if you have one of those little power bricks, you can stick this in a power brick. As long as the power's on, it's fine. The only time you'd want to take this off and you want to put it somewhere is if you're facing severe weather. If you're facing severe weather, you want to put this somewhere where it'll be safe. Or you can just unplug your laptop. Either way, it'll be safe. Just make sure to plug your laptop back in as soon as the storm's over. And there you go. And that's it. Alright, that concludes my little presentation of, you can see the drive is ready to go, and if you ever need it, what you do is you put a new hard drive in here, put this in, put that in there, and you'd be set. Alright, I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned.